Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist and reacting to this clip from this woman called Chelsea Handler. She's supposed to be a comedian, even though she's really not all that funny. She's actually kind of sad, and she seems to be celebrated by some of the left-wing media for not having children. Like, you don't have kids, that's something that is good, positive, and makes your life better. We are in these weird times, and this is why I'm doing the video in the channel in terms of social analysis of what's going on. We're in these weird times where you don't know what you are. You don't know if you're a man, if you're a woman. You're supposed to be happy with the things that actually make people the saddest in their lives. Some of the most depressing things are not having a family, not having kids. And yeah, sure enough, some women just can't have it, same as men. There's men that cannot have children, and there's people that choose not to have children and they have their happy lives. It is very, extremely rare. In all honesty, I've seen grown men and women cry because they didn't have children at a certain age. Now, in theory, we're supposed to not believe that fact of life and just pretend that not having children is wonderful. And anyway, here is this lady.
This is a day in the life of a childless woman. I wake up at 6 a.m. I remember that I have no kids to take to school.
Lady, if you have to remember that each day, you probably have dementia. You want to get that checked.
So I take an edible, masturbate,
and you're a crazy old cat lady. This is the kind of thing that an insane person would do, or someone that is, about to make a horrible decision and, end the misery for once and all. Anyway.
And go back to sleep. I wake up at
12:30
p.m. and get ready for it.
And really, the fact that she probably does do a lot of drugs and a lot of drinking, that's probably because she's really not all that happy with her life. So how does that make her case for how wonderful her life is?
Doing whatever the I feel like.
Yeah, that's another way of saying you have nothing worthy to do in your day.
I put on my most impractical and stylish shoes.
Yeah, the ones that hurt your feet, you mean?
Since I won't be chasing a child around the grocery store.
Yeah, of course, you have none. We get that.
I go to my fave spot in Paris to grab a croissant.
I've gone to Paris and grabbed croissants as well with my wife and my 3 kids. We actually had a good time.
I do a meditation sesh on the plane since I have no screaming kids, allowing me all the time in the world to become enlightened. The weightlessness of my existence.
I have that same picture, but with my kids.
Has granted me superhuman powers.
And here's where she starts pretending that not having kids grants you superpowers, which, yeah, we know that she's trying to do this thing as a comedy or a joke or something funny. It just keeps on getting sadder and sadder and more delusional as she goes on.
I teleport myself back home. Then I get ready for a night out with whatever hot guy I met on Raya that morning.
Hot guys? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I call up a babysitter and tell her that I don't need her since I still don't have kids. Now it's time for a workout, so I hit Mount Everest for a quick climb. I invent a time machine.
You can barely move, you cannot climb anything, and I go hiking and doing all of that stuff with my kids and my wife. You're not impaired of doing any of those things that she's describing as cool and fun just because you have kids. It's actually more fun when you're not alone.
Go back in time and kill Hitler. Freeze, you bastard! It's amazing what you can do when you have this much free time. And that's a day in the life of a childless woman.
Her voice is already cracking. Oh, Jesus Christ. It is so sad. But this is kind of her thing. It seems to be that she makes constantly talking about how she has no children.
One thing that I have made abundantly clear is that I do not want children.
To who do you make all of this abundantly clear? No one even knows who you are. I mean, honestly, leave comments below if you ever heard of this woman before up until this point. This is the first time I've ever heard of her, so I doubt people are randomly asking her, hey lady, why don't you have kids? I would assume she's a grandmother by now if I just watch her. Anyway.
I say it on stage. I say it in interviews. It's the first thing I say to myself in the mirror when I wake up each morning. Right before I tell myself, God, you're a dynamic woman.
No. And she talks about kids. Lady, you should have grandkids probably by now. The idea that you're in your prime, I guess you think she is.
Kids don't respect me, and quite frankly, the feeling is mutual.
No one really does, I guess.
And the fact is there are millions of women just like me, but for some reason, every single one of us at some point in our lives is shamed by society for not wanting a baby.
No, that is, no one shames people that cannot have kids. Actually, some of the few adults that I've seen crying is usually people that don't have kids. It wasn't that long ago buying a car from a guy. We start talking, hey, yeah, car for the family and so on. Yeah, you have kids? Yeah, I have 3. You have kids? No, we have none. We can't have kids. And the dude started crying. A guy that I met like 30 minutes ago. And one other time in Florida, also people that we knew, and walking her dogs, and she said, yeah, these are my children, a little bit older than this woman even, and she just hugged her dogs and said, yes, these are my children. She started crying. So it's not real, this idea that, yeah, your life is awesome if you're a 60-year-old woman without kids. It's actually kind of the things that depress people the most, both men and women. Not having a family, being alone, definitely not having kids.
And that's what I want to talk about in tonight's installment of Long Story Short.
It's still long. It's like fucking 8 minutes in here.
In America, and honestly everywhere, motherhood is treated as a woman's central purpose in life.
Yes, it is. Crazy old cat lady. You're born, you grow, you reproduce, and you die. That's what actually defines you as a living being, let alone a human, let alone a woman or a man. So yeah, it is a big deal, and if you check with some of the richest, most successful people on the planet, the thing that they're the happiest about, that gives them the most joy, and that have that in common with some of the poorest bastards in this planet is your family, your kids. That's what brings you the most joy, the most gratification, the greatest amount of happiness comes from that connection with others, directly linked to your children, your family. So pretending that this is something that's being imposed by evil conservatives is just idiotic.
On stage, feeling is mutual. One of us at some point in our lives is shamed by society for not wanting a baby. And that's what I want to talk about in tonight's installment of Long Story Short. And honestly everywhere, motherhood is treated as a woman's central purpose in life, as if our destiny is to let a tiny stranger rip a hole through our Pikachu from the inside.
For a woman her age that's already well into menopause, she doesn't understand how her own body works and reproduction. She calls your Pikachu. Anyway, this just keeps on getting sadder and sadder.
And then as soon as we turn 18, we're just supposed to sit back and wait for Nick Cannon to impregnate us?
Who the fuck is Nick Cannon? This guy? Why is it that you want him to impregnate you?
And look, I have infinite respect for moms, but motherhood is hard. It's so hard, it even broke Marie Kondo.
I don't know who this woman is either. Anyway, I'll just skip to this other depressing part where she presents that not having children is something that is medically good for you. That it's
I've been around the world a couple times.
Oh, she's so.
You're like a pussy GoPro. Yep.
Chelsea.
Hi.
Hi, great to meet you.
You too.
So I'm just going over your chart here. It says you don't plan on having any children.
No.
This woman cannot have children anymore based on her age. It's not as if she's planning. And this connection with reality, she pretends to be like this hot young comedian that, oh yeah, she's looking at this thing and having sexual reference. Lady, it's kind of gross. Even with a good-looking woman, young good-looking woman, it would still be kind of like, yeah, that's the kind of humor you can do. Okay, and there's a few female comedians that are a lot better looking than this woman, and even when they make these kind of jokes, it's kind of kind of your lowest common denominator in terms of jokes. You expect people to do a little bit better than that. But the fact that she has this disconnection with reality, you're not planning on having kids. Lady, at 60, no one can have kids, let alone a
so I'm
woman
just going over
of
your
your
chart here. It says you don't plan on having any children.
No.
It actually says, quote, Never, ever, not even if me and Chris Hemsworth.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
having kids is a big decision.
Chris Hemsworth
and
has
you
a
know it's gonna
younger
affect your
wife, and he
body
has several
and your
kids.
life in a major way.
What kind of ways, doctor?
Well, for starters, your body will never go through the trauma of childbirth. You'll have what the medical community calls beautiful, boisterous breasts.
Now, I'll end the video here because, first of all, she's gross and it's depressing. But the idea that she makes jokes about the medical benefits of not having children, seriously, reality is the exact opposite. And it always happens with these lunatics. They have a completely distorted, opposed to reality vision. It's not traumatic to have children. That's what your body was made for. Both men and women in their specific roles. That's what your body does. When women have children, it's not a trauma. It's not a disaster. You're not being, destroyed by a little monster like this woman apparently thinks. That's the most natural thing in the world for a woman to have kids and for a man to have children as well. In fact, there's medical problems if you don't have kids. There's medical problems if you have kids and you don't breastfeed them. She's pretending that her saggy old body is beautiful because she didn't have kids.
And a very tight, little vagina.
That's funny because I've been hearing a lot about that from different people that I've been having casual sex with.
Oh, she's so disgusting. No, lady. No, that's not how the body works, how aging works. You're getting old and everything is just going the way it goes for anyone as they get old. And in your case, given that you did not have kids and you never breastfed anyone, you probably have a much higher chance of having breast cancer. That is a medical fact. Look it up yourself. Don't just take it for what I'm saying here. But just the opposite of what they're joking about is actually true. And maybe some guy or some woman watches this and, yeah, my body will be a lot better because I don't have kids or because I don't plan on having kids. No, your body will probably punish you. Nature, being the cruel bitch that she is, nature will punish your ass for not doing what she wants you to do, which is grow, reproduce, and fucking die like the rest of us. So this disconnection that these people have is not just about, oh yes, I think that I'm a man, but when I'm a woman and I was assigned a gender that was, not mine at birth, and all of this insanity that we live in. Just one more example of that in this fucking depressing as shit sketch. Anyway, see you in the next video. Take care.